Well, hello, this is a video specifically for my Patreons. I asked my Patreons to send a question, if they have one, for Mike Brewer. And here we are. I've got a list on my phone. We're going to rattle through them. And the first question, Mike, comes from Robin White. What does Mike see as the most exciting / interesting car released this year or next year?
Oh, that's a great question. Exciting car, an interesting car in the last year. BMW have just launched a 50, a limited run of 50 3-litre CSL, lightweight, 560 horsepower, manual gearbox. Now that is exciting. Also, BMW have also launched a car they should have launched 15 years ago, a M3 Touring, which is the car that they should have made when, you know, you had the likes of Audi with their RS4 and Mercedes with their C63. BMW missed that trick back then. They had the Touring and they had an M3, but they never combined the two. They went V8 with the M3, which I think was a mistake, but now they've gone back straight six, twin turbo with the M3 Touring. Another exciting and interesting car.
That is cool. It's a good answer, that. James Lomas says, what would Mike consider to be the best 80s Luxo barge for a daily driver?
Best 80s Luxo barge for a daily would most definitely be a Mercedes 500 SEL, because you can buy those for next to nothing. They're the most complicated, over-engineered sort of luxury barges you can buy. But I would save you money and go 90s, if he would be so brave, and go for a Lexus LS400, which are just uber cool, amazingly engineered. It's the luxury barge to die for, and it'll never go wrong. It's a Lexus.
That's proper Quentin Wilson spec as well, isn't it?
Hello.
I know.
Handles like the dust of his tea, Charlie.
I've never had a 400, but I would like one. Ant Brown, what was it that inspired Mike to take what seemingly started with Deals on Wheels and then spin it into Wheeler Dealers? What is it that he saw in that show that no one else did?
I did an item in Deals on Wheels, which was how to buy a car, restore it and sell it. It was a 1 5-minute item in Deals on Wheels. And it was that item that we took and turned into a whole series. And now a whole network is dedicated to car restoration shows. And this is the first time anyone had ever seen it globally, anywhere globally. So what inspired me was, that was what I had this chance. You know, at the time there was Top Gear on TV, there was nothing else. And I had this chance to be on TV and show people what I did. You know, this is how I lived. I bought cars, fixed them up and I sold them. And so that inspired me to think, look, you know, I can do this. And it's ended up with me getting my own TV show.
Yeah.
So if I can do this, maybe you guys can do it. You know, I got a TV show out of it. So I'm going to teach you how to do it. You might end up getting something good out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired me.
That's good. Owen Kelly, if he could have only one Wheeler Dealer car to keep for himself, which one would he pick?
I've been asked this question over and over and over and over
been
again.
asked hundreds of times.
But I can't have one. I have to have like 3, unfortunately, from 3 different eras.
Yeah.
So from the Ed era, it would be the Lamborghini Urraco.
Good car.
Great car.
You got it cheap as well.
Got that car cheap.
Yeah.
From the Ant era, it would be the Escort Cosworth, third wing Escort Cosworth.
You heard Bird Table, yeah.
Love that car.
Probably worth $1 million in the States.
Probably now.
Yeah.
From the Elvis period, it's right there behind you. It's the Mark 1 Transit.
You've got to say it in a different manner. You can't just say Mark 1 Transit.
It's the Mark 1 Transit, the Blackmobile.
Fucking Transit.
It's the Transit.
Right, and the next from Termu, I don't know if that's your real name, following that clip from the NEC with Mike in the Transit, has he ever owned a fucking Transit and or done a blag with geezers?
I've never done a blag with geezers, but I've definitely owned a Transit and had geezers in the back of a Transit on my way to a stag do or football game or party or something. And we've often thought that we were on our way to a blag. I suppose, we may have gone into an off licence and taken all the booze off the shelf on our way to the party. But I've definitely hung around with geezers and a Transit.
I bet you have.
Yes.
I bet you have. Wayne, Wayne Orkmuti, I think his surname is. Hey Johnny, I've often wondered how the trolls online affected Mike after Wheeler Dealers changed mechanics. I always liked Mike and also Ed and Ant for the record.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about this in the main program. Yes, it does affect me. It's affected my mental health. It's certainly affected my family as well. What a lot of people don't realise when they troll somebody is that I'm not the only person looking at the comments. There's my mum would be, or my dad. You know, they're proud of their son. So they might be looking at the comments, and it's not easy for my mum to read some of the foul and disgusting stuff that people would say about me or my family. You know, wishing my brother died of cancer, brain cancer, and the trolls found that out. And there was actually a party. Some trolls held a party where they was singing a song about Brewer's brothers died of cancer. Let's hope it's him next. And they were dancing around singing a song, yeah, and posted it up on the internet. And that's
That's evil.
It's evil.
That's
It's just evil, isn't it?
That's
It's just
unnecessary.
evil. So yeah, my mum would see that. You know, my sisters and my sponsors, the crew, the people I work with, the car dealership that I own. I'm supporting nearly 200 people out there, and they get to see that, and it hurts them as much as it hurts me. And I keep trying to remind everyone, I fix cars up for a living. I restore cars. You know, that's all I do. So, you know, relax.
Yeah, bloody hell, I did. That's awful.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
Mike Freeman, how does Mike see the second-hand car market changing with big increases in price of new cars, delivery delays, and the cost of living worries for a lot of people?
Yeah, the used car trade, of which I'm very much a part of, prices are going to remain high for the time being. I think we won't see new cars start to filter back into normality through the system from the COVID lockdowns until summer, maybe late summer this year. But now we've got the cost of living increase as well. It's a bit of a dilemma for dealers because they're going to have to look at their pricing and think about bringing some of their pricing down to get customers into the dealerships. It's a very tough time, you know, but saying that, the car dealers have had it away the last 2 years, me included. You know, they've had a really good time last 2 years. So now it's a bit of payback. You know, they've got to pay back a little bit. So it's going to be an interesting time. I still feel that it's a good time to buy a car. I don't think prices are going to come down for the next 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
I still feel it's a good time to buy a car. But I feel that as the more this year rolls on, as the more 2023 rolls on, by the time we get into spring and summer, you might want to think about your buying decisions until a bit later on in the year because it's going to take another tumble.
Yeah, yeah. Neil Rapsey, what made Mike make the show in the USA? And was it what the makers wanted, or was it mutual? And what made him return to the UK? Was that a personal choice? Oh, and ask him if he remembers me going to his car meet in Balboa Park
Yeah,
a few years ago.
Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Neil Rapsey, and I do remember meeting him. And yeah, I mean, I didn't have a choice to take Wheeler Dealers to the USA. It was a contractual issue that we embraced. We loved the idea. I love being out there, you know, all the rest of it was great. And the choice to bring the car show back to England was a personal choice. You know, I had the choice to be near my family at a time when my mother was very poorly, and to have another go. You know, I wanted to have another go at Wheeler Dealers. I'd sort of conquered America. 6 years out there is a long time to be away from people.
That is a long time, actually.
It's a long time. And we'd conquered it. We'd had our, difficult second album with Ant, and we'd smashed it.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I think there's another album out there, and let's try it again. Let's try it again in England. So yeah, I was given the opportunity and grabbed it.
Did you keep your house? Did you sell your house?
So here in England,
Yeah.
no, I kept it. Kept the house here. My daughter, she lived in the house whilst we was out there. She come back with some forwards.
Right.
She was at university, and then we recently sold it to buy this ridiculous house.
Rob Seister, I've always liked Mike. He seems a genuine car guy. I think the best thing he's ever done, though, was the stuff in Afghanistan with our armed forces. If you haven't heard the story on how he got the series and his incident in the Chinook, then ask him to tell that tale. But my question is, I remember you mentioning that. It was quite a dangerous situation.
Very.
But my question is, would he consider doing something similar again? Especially with injured servicemen getting into the car and motorsport industry.
Yeah, I actually wrote a series with Mission Motorsport, which I presented to the networks, and for some bizarre reason, every single person who watched the series, because I filmed a pilot show, cried their eyes out watching it, and then they all said, it's too sad, we're not going to make it. I spent 3 months on the front line in Afghanistan, been shot at, blown up, chased. It was in a helicopter that got shot out of the sky. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that documentary. And I made it. You know, it's my production company. And it's one of the things that people don't know me for, you know, that I am quite serious and I can do these serious and thought-provoking things. One of the things that I see and witness when I was out there is these young men having limbs blown off of them. So when I came back to England, I sought them out. You know, I went to help and raise money and you know, do what I can to help. And I stumbled upon this amazing charity called Mission Motorsport, which basically take injured servicemen through building rally cars or race cars or motorbikes. They rebuild their lives. And it was fascinating to watch, you know, a guy with no legs under a car, working with a guy with one arm on the other side of the car, and them passing tools around and one of them holding something up while the other one does it up. And it was so heart-provoking and warm and lovely, and you got to see the best of humanity and supporting each other and building a car together. And it culminated with them adapting a motorbike for a soldier with no legs. He had his legs blown off. And they adapted this motorcycle, and so he could change gear on the hand controls. And he loved motorbiking before he went in the army. And it ended up with us filming him being plopped on the motorbike, everyone holding him up, and he rode off for the first time. And we all stood there and cried as he rode off. But the real moment was when he turned around and came back, because when a motorbike comes to a stop, it's got no legs to put down. So they literally, you know, people with one leg or guys with one arm or no arms, they rushed out to meet him and they sort of gathered him as he'd come to a stop. They gathered him and they fell into each other's arms. And there's not one person that can't watch that. Even thinking about it now, it's making me emotional.
I can tell, yeah.
There's not one person that can't watch it that won't burst into tears. And it's the most amazing thing you'll ever see. I put it in front of networks, and they commissioned Girls Aloud in a Haunted House.
Oh, what the fuck.
So there you go.
Okay.
I tried.
Yeah. Glyn Smith, celebrity's gone, as is your vast wealth, Mike. You've got to buy a family-friendly car. You've only got £10,000.
All right, that's good.
It's actually a lot more than I was offering you.
Family-friendly car for 10 grand.
Family, yeah. Okay, so yeah.
God, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
10,000 quid.
It's
quite
quite
a
good.
lot
It's
out
quite
there.
a lot of money, isn't
There
it?
always has been for 10,000.
Yeah, so for 10 grand, you go and buy something like you need something that's going to be reliable, sturdy, space. If it's family, you're going to want to put crap in the back, So for reliability, you've got to look to the Far East, you've got to look to Japan, you've got to look to Korea even. Yeah. I'd be looking at something like a Kia, something like it that's got something that's got a 10-year warranty,
Yeah.
And if at 10 grand you're going to buy something that's still going to probably have 5 years of that warranty left, so a Sedona.
Kia Sedona. That's that song, Paul Young.
I don't know, something like that.
I might go Mark V Golf GTI, just because I think that's in that price bracket. It's fun. It's got a big boot, 5-door, family orientated. I'm in love with.
Yeah, but a Mark V Golf GTI is
It's kind of old now.
It's old and it's a bit bloated as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit bloated.
All right.
You could go C-Class, Mercedes-Benz C-Class Touring.
Yeah.
Estate car.
Yeah, mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s,
I like
estate
that.
car. That's a good car.
That is.
Yeah,
they did a
car.
good job.
Cool. Looks cool as well.
It still
Daddy
looks
cool.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. I actually chasing at the moment for wheeler dealers an RS6, which is only 11 grand, so you might get that down to 10 grand. Audi RS6 2002.
That's a weapon.
First of them, that's a weapon, 450 horsepower,
Yeah.
Audi RS6, loads of space, but you get that Porsche experience as well.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Okay. Well, Neil Carter said, given all his experience with different cars, what's Mike's daily driver and why did he choose it? Well, we've actually sort of covered that in the show. It's your Defender at the moment.
It's it's either the Taycan or Defender, yeah.
Yeah, Taken or Death.
Or dare I say, the Ford Ranger Raptor. It depends what I'm doing on the day.
Yeah. Andrew Robinson, this isn't so much a question, but on behalf of all the sporting bears, can you give Mike a big hug? We just want to say thanks for many, many, many things, in fact 3 million of them, for his support promoting the Bears, at not just the NEC, but online, and the many other events that we do. The Bears are very proud to have Mike as our patron.
Well, that's lovely, and I'm very proud to be the patron of Sporting Bears. We've actually now raised 3,330,000, so all the frees,
Wow.
which is quite an incredible number, and all that money goes to children's charity.
That is a
And
big
me being the patron of that is a thrill.
Oh, that is well done, and thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Nick Davis, can you get Mike to tell the story about the chandelier when he didn't have a penny to his name? Epic tale he told at an I Love You Man event at Cafe and Machine.
It's a long story, but basically, I'll give you the skinny.
Give me this, yeah.
I'll give you the skinny. We bought this ridiculous house, me and my wife, that we couldn't afford. Michelle got meningitis, nearly died in hospital. So I ended up selling everything, literally selling everything, the furniture, plates, cups, saucers, you name it. We sold it all. Anything to survive, because I took time off work to hold her hand in a hospital bed. She was dying.
Bloody
But
hell.
when Michelle came out of hospital, the world had turned upside down. The car business had gone. We was at 15% interest rates at that time. It was Black Wednesday, so nobody was buying cars. So our world had collapsed. The house was being foreclosed by the bank. They were snatching the house back off of me and Michelle. So we were bankrupt. I said I've been skint once before. We were literally bankrupt, but not declared bankrupt. We felt we were bankrupt.
Yeah.
And we ended up walking away from the house and handing the keys back to the solicitors to give to the bank. But we'd literally, when you sell a house, you have to tick a box what you're leaving: carpets, curtains, plug sockets, light bulbs. And me and Michelle argued over the chandelier and the two side lights that when we bought the house, they were in there. And I didn't like them. They were always nearly cleaning. I didn't like them. But Michelle, we argued. So I said, "Oh, just leave them." And Michelle said, "No, don't leave them. I want to take them." And I went, "Where am I going to put chandeliers? We're you know,
We're going to go in a flat.
we're going to go in a flat." Exactly. You know, we might be living in the back of a car. So where are we going to put chandeliers? So we had an argument. So I just left it blank. But the day we went and handed the keys back at the solicitors, he handed me that same piece of paper and said, "Could I check it and then sign it?" So I checked it and realised that I still hadn't ticked chandeliers or side lights. So I signed it, which means that when I sign it, that they were not part of the sale. They're mine.
Okay.
Because I'd never ticked the box. And the people that are buying the house, they'd signed their part of that document.
Yeah.
So I left these solicitors, walked to the coffee shop with Michelle with one suitcase and a dog on a piece of string and a dog bowl. And I said to Michelle, I had 37p. That was it. And I said to Michelle, sit there, have a cup of coffee. I've got a plan. And I called my brother Terry, who'd come and pick me up in his little escort van with a stepladder on the roof. We went back to the house where the new people are moving in. I walked in with the removal men with a stepladder and a screwdriver. I put the stepladder down, stood up it, put the screwdriver in the chandelier socket, and this woman appeared and said, "Who are you? Get out of my effing house. Get down from that ladder." And I said, "No, I'm the previous owner. I've never met her before. I'm the previous owner. I haven't moved out yet. This is my chandelier. I've come to take it." And she said, "It's not. It goes with the sale of the house. It's not yours. Get out of the house." I said, "Well, actually, if you check, it's not part of the sale of the house. It's mine." So she went and got her husband. He turned up with his briefcase. They went through the paperwork. And lo and behold, he went, "No, it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to them." So I said, "Thank you." So I'm starting to undo it. And she said, "I'll buy it. How much do you want for it?" And that's when the chandelier become a Brewer family heirloom. that had been in my family for generations, and there was no way I could sell it because it would break my mum's heart unless they gave me the princely sum of £4,000. So I marched her husband back down. He actually drove me back down the hill to the bank, Bradford and Bingley. I walked him up to the counter at Bradford and made him take £4,000 in cash out, because if it went as a cheque, the bank would have swallowed it. I've never seen it.
Oh.
So I got him to get me £4,000 in cash out. I walked across the road to the coffee shop where I'd left Michelle and put £4,000 in front of her. And she said, "Where the fuck did that come from?" And I said, "Don't ask, but let's go to the car auction."
Oh my gosh.
And I went and bought a 205 GTI and a Renault 5 GT Turbo and started again.
Bloody hell, Mike. Well, okay. Ian Mills, what's going to happen to the prices of second-hand cars as we get closer to 2030? Will they go up? Will they go down?
It's interesting.
As we enter the anything as long as it's electric age.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's been I think they're going to go up. I think used car prices will go up because there'll be no more petrol, diesel, piston powered cars being made.
Yeah.
So I think used prices will go up and new car prices will go up because it's the last hurrah, it's the last chance. Petrol and diesel will still be sold at the pumps, you know, for another 20, 30 years, of course, because we'll have cars there. I tend to think that prices will go up and they'll become much more sought after and rarer.
Yeah.
And, we're going to enter the world of Mad Max, where we're all chasing the last gallon of fuel.
We are.
And,
We're making it in our back garden in stills.
Yes, yeah. I can't wait to see the modern Tina Turner. It's going to be great.
The Thunderdome. Arthur Adderley asks, thank you for making one of the best TV shows ever and paving the way for many others.
Oh, that's sweet.
Can you ask Mike which car they made the most and least profit on?
Most profit ever made was the Austin Healey 3000. I paid $35,000 for it, sold it for $75,000.
Wow.
So that was a great profit. And the least money was the AMC Pacer, which
That
was
you do hate. I know
which
you
I
hate
do.
it.
I love the car. I thought it was a great car.
Yeah.
But it was trashed and it was horrible what we did with it. So much so that I actually just put it on eBay and sold it for charity. I think it made $7,000, but it owed us something like 20 grand. So it's a massive loss.
Shit.
But at least the money went to charity.
Right, last three questions. Chris Payne, hi Johnny. Can you ask Mr. Brewer what was the hardest wheeler dealer car to get parts for and what would be his dream car for an episode?
Dream car for an episode would be a 1929-30 Bentley Blower.
Oh, yeah.
Love to do that. Never happened because they're too expensive. But that would be a dream. And the hardest car ever to get parts for, there's been a few actually. There's been a few cars out there. There was a motorbike actually we just did on Dream Car. It's a Honda CB750, like the first ever superbike.
Yeah.
And it should have 4 exhaust pipes on it. They're unobtainium, don't exist anywhere on the planet. You can't get them. So they made 1 million motorbikes, but all the exhaust systems have rotted out, gone. So that was a worldwide mission to find exhaust pipes. And when I say worldwide, I mean I spent a month phoning Australia, New Zealand, Germany, South America. I found the exhaust pipes eventually in Bicester.
What?
Yeah, in Bicester, about blooming 3 miles from the workshop.
The irony.
A month later, yeah, I know, the irony. There's been a few cars that parts have been unobtainium, they just don't exist. Saab 9.6, I remember doing that. Screen broke, no screens anywhere on the web. They can't get a windscreen for a Saab 9.6 anywhere.
I didn't know
But fortunately, it's exactly the same screen radius as a Chevy Impala. So I got a Chevy Impala windscreen, and then I had a glass cutter come in and cut
it down.
Cut it down so it fits the Saab 9.6 and it works perfectly.
Bloody hell, an Impala. Zach Chandler, I would like to know, if he wasn't so good at buying and selling cars and being a presenter, what on earth would he do for a living? I'm sure it'd be selling something, but I'd like to know what else floats his boat.
Cars. I'd just be selling cars, which I still do. I buy and sell cars. But if it wasn't buying and selling cars, telling stories.
Stories.
I'd like to be, I like writing. Writing is cathartic. You can sit there in front of the computer and just get it out, can't you? You write for a living. And it's a peaceful moment, you and the keyboard. I kind of like that. But if it would be buying and selling cars, I mean, that's all I know, really. I don't know anything else. That's about it.
Struan Fredersdorf, that's right. He has said, Mike seems like a genuine good egg, and I'm not sure why he gets so much stick, bless him.
Thank
I
you.
would like to know if he's ever had the opportunity to choose and own one coach-built car to be built for him. Oh, if he ever had the opportunity to choose and have a coach-built car built for him, who would he go for? Vignale, Touring, Gear, etc., etc. So basically have a coach builder, coach build something.
Yeah, this is an easy answer, actually, and I'm not saying it because he's one of my best mates, but I would have the famous coach builders at Radford build me a Type 62, because I sat at the inception of when Ant drew the very first alliteration of "He's Radford," and it looks very similar to what is actually in the marketplace today. And knowing that it's coach built in conjunction with Jensen Button, who's done the race side engineering of it, is makes it a rather special car. And you can bespoke that car in any way you want, personalised to you. And I've seen a few of them been built. You know, I've seen Ant shares some of the images with me, and some people are awful. You know, blue car, denim blue car with bright orange seats, you know, and blue stitching. You know, for a hyper supercar, a bit bizarre. But knowing you can do that
Yeah.
makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got two answers to this. So Radford, I'd have them coach build me a car.
Yeah.
And secondly, if it wasn't a Radford, and this will happen one time, I'm sure, in my life, if I ever win the Splottery, of which either I'm not going to win it, but a Dottie aunt is going to win it and share some money with me. Singer, who at a Porsche company in America, Singer, I'd have them coach build me one of their 964 Singers,
Yeah, that's nice.
which I would dearly love.
Yeah. Yeah, a Singer would be nice. I said to Rob from Singer once, I said, you need to diversify away from Porsches. I'll commission a Matra Rancho. Off you go.
Off you go. I'll commission a Tokyo taxi.
Oh, I'd love to. Bloody
A
love
Singer
to.
Tokyo taxi.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be amazing.
Good old. Thank you ever so much for that, Mike. That's
Mate,
all
it's
the
an absolute
Patreon
pleasure.
questions. Patrons, thank you for that.
Thank you, patrons, for your great questions. I really appreciate it.
They're better than me at this shit.
They really
They
are.
are better than me. At
They
this
are
shit.
really. Can't believe you actually make a living out of this.
I
It's
know. I'm
incredible.
going to go and dismantle the chairs and go home.
Yeah, good, please.